To a Dubliner, the Liffey represents the heartbeat of its history. Liffey ciders, from the Viking Blackpool to the town of the Ford of Hurdles, have been reared with the sound, the taste and the smell of sweet Anna Livia. Dublin town spread along her banks, and now a thriving city is stitched together by the living arteries of her bridges. But her crowning glory is the 140-foot cast iron tiara that spans her banks, the Halfpenny Bridge. In 1815, the bridge was proposed by William Walsh and John Claudius Beresford and was designed by John Windsor. Through its history, Dubliners have had an indifferent relationship with the bridge, but today, the Halfpenny Bridge means as much to Dubliners as the Eiffel Tower does to Parisians.
The Halfpenny Bridge suffered a lot of wear and tear over the years, and the numbers of pedestrians were increasing every year. So 2 or 3 years ago, we were quite worried about it. We knew that we would have to do extensive repairs to keep it alive as a bridge that got people from one side of the river to the other. So we were faced with a choice. We could do minimal repairs and keep it going as a bridge. We could close it down and do a major refurbishment job, or we could close it and leave it there as a museum piece. So we decided to go for the middle option, which was to do major refurbishment, restore it to exactly what it was when it was built, and that's been done and we're very proud of it. So we adopted the same kind of approach as we did towards, for example, City Hall, where we had the same problem. It seemed like a lot of money at the time. In the case of City Hall, it was about £6 million. Even now, it doesn't seem like a lot when you look at the finished product. This bridge will have cost us about £1.8 million. And again, I think in years to come, that's not going to seem like a lot. The bridge doesn't owe anybody anything because it was built originally for about £3,000 and opened in 1816. So that represents good value for money by any standards. So the end result now is that an icon and a symbol of Dublin that's recognisable all over the world. It's a bit like the Little Mermaid in Copenhagen. When you talk about Dublin, people think of the Halfpenny Bridge like they do Guinness or U2 or anything else.
Because of the increased numbers of tourists coming to the city, we have concentrated more and more on making the River Liffey the focus for the tourists visiting Dublin. And this has been exemplified by the construction of the boardwalk and the campshires and the Millennium Bridge just adjacent to the Halfpenny Bridge. But the one structure which identifies Dublin from all other cities is the Halfpenny Bridge. And when the Millennium Bridge was installed in the year 2000, we decided to carry out a full refurbishment of the structure so that it would blend in and further enhance the river and attract more people to visit the area. This refurbishment has resulted in the closing of the bridge for the last 6 to 8 months. Every part of the bridge was very carefully examined. It has been taken apart and put back together again. And the main emphasis this time has been to ensure that the bridge is structurally safe while retaining as much of the original material as possible. In order to carry out the refurbishment, we had to close the bridge to pedestrian traffic and installed a temporary Bailey bridge to ensure that people could still get access across the river at this location.
Once the bridge closed, it meant that the business dropped by as much as 50%. So that's how serious it was for us. It was a tight struggle all year round.
The other bridge is parallel with that side of the road. Therefore, the people went down that side and they didn't come over here to buy anything. Do you understand? But now when this bridge opens here, this is on a straight line with this side of the road, so we're hoping for better business.
The main problem with the traders was that during the refurbishment stage, they requested that the temporary Bailey Bridge be put in place. They did not accept that the new Millennium Bridge gave sufficient access to areas such as Liffey Street here, where 70% of the trade was considered to be passing trade from across the Halfpenny Bridge. And as a result, we decided to put in the Bailey Bridge. But this is not a new phenomenon, because back in the 1500s and 1600s, when new bridges were being constructed up near the present-day civic offices, the citizens actually created a riot to ensure that a temporary bridge was put across while new bridges were being built.
My brother, myself and my cousin are the 4th generation of roaches to run this company. So it was commenced in 1888 by our great-grandfather. We started trading down here on Bachelor's Walk in 1888, and we moved to this premises in 1930. So we're here a long time, and we have a long association with the bridge. In, I think it was 1971, my father and my uncle, who were the directors then, painted the bridge, or at least put up half the money to paint the bridge. Dublin Corporation funded the other half. And a lot of people still remember that, and a lot of them have been asking, are we going to make a contribution this time? But costs have risen since then. People associate us with the bridge. It's part of our address, and it's I suppose where people locate us. And naturally we were concerned when we heard that there was a possibility that the bridge would have to close. We were greatly relieved when we heard there was a Bailey Bridge going in, because the bridge is a lifeline. Most of the traffic comes north-south, though mind you there is more pedestrian traffic coming along the quays now with the Millennium Bridge, but we're looking forward to the new bridge opening. When we saw the cream colour, we thought maybe that's just an undercoat. Maybe they won't leave it cream, but it's beautiful, and it lit up at night. It's lovely.
The Halfpenny Bridge has been enclosed in a cover for the last 6 months to enable each part of the structure to be carefully taken apart and tested. Various cracks were found in some of the cast iron, and these were repaired or replaced as our conservation architects advised. On various other parts we carried out bending tests in Harland and Wolff in Belfast, and if these did not come up to modern day safety standards, we had them replaced. We were surprised that in total only approximately 10% of the bridge had to be replaced. One of the parts of the structure that we had to carry out a review was of the bridge deck, and following consultation it was decided to change the deck from a timber deck with a mineral felt covering, which required a lot of maintenance, to a steel deck with a grit which was non-slip. It allowed us to re-profile the deck so that the steps were more accessible and it was more pleasing to the eye. When research was carried out into scrapings from the original deck, we were able to determine that the first colour on the bridge was off-white, and we decided to repaint the bridge in this colour. Historically, there are two aspects of this bridge which are very important. One is the material of the bridge, and the second one is the actual structure of the arch. Cast iron had only come on the market 30 years previous to it, and this bridge was made in the original foundry in Coalbrookdale in the United Kingdom. The introduction of this new material was revolutionary, and in today's terms could be compared with the introduction of computers and its impact on everyday life. Up to this period of time, bridges were constructed of masonry or timber, and the arches had to be semicircular. This new bridge has a flattened arch in the shape of an ellipse, which had only made its appearance around 1780.
Back in history, at one stage Dublin Corporation were planning to encase the bridge or have stalls or something on it, and I think the city architect at the time referred to it as the ugly bridge or the ugly metal construction, but you know, to me today now it looks very, very elegant.
Down through the years, there has been a love-hate relationship with the bridge from the people of the city. The original bridge was only permitted to be put in place on the basis that if the citizens of Dublin did not like it, it would actually be taken down at the builder's expense. Similarly, in the 1920s, it was proposed that the bridge should be replaced with an art gallery bridge over the River Liffey. But now that the structure is a listed structure and it's identified as being an icon of the city, we decided to try and refurbish it to the best possible standard.
After nearly 2 centuries in the service of the city, her battle scars had left her so tarnished that her future was uncertain until the City Council, in consultation with the city traders and other interested parties, undertook a major refurbishment project to restore the Halfpenny Bridge to her original splendour.
Are you proud to be involved in rebuilding the Halfpenny Bridge?
Very much so. Go well on the CV, like, wouldn't it?
Work on the bridge commenced early in 2001. combining the skills of craftspeople from north and south of the border and far beyond. It took 9 months' dedicated effort to complete the task.
We're looking at the retention of as much of the original bridge as possible. Well, what's being done is the main railings of the bridge are being dismantled and the horizontal rails are being recast in a stronger metal. But all of the vertical posts and the elaborate posts of the original are being reinstated. Also, when the bridge was first built, there were some towers at either end. They were taken down after a small number of years. When we remake the bridge mouths to accommodate large numbers of people, we're going to reinstate the profile of the towers up to a certain height. So the bridge will have the walls of the abutment carrying up as they previously did, up to a certain height.
Superstructure is sound enough, yeah. It's been checked by the RE resident engineer and he's happy enough with it. Looking at it, it's remarkable from 1816 to today, like, for it to be in such good condition. Obviously, you have a certain degree of corrosion, but it's, all in all, it's fairly sound. How long we'll get out of it is impossible to say, like, but it'll certainly outlast me.
I think the interest is to understand exactly how it was put together in the first place, and just to note how well it has behaved and it has survived. It would have been very modern in its time. It would have been the height of technological innovation. And it came up the river, as you know, in sections and was assembled over the course of a short period of time and opened then in May 1816.
The job started last January. We were anxious that we'd get the job started and completed in October before the Christmas shopping. The repairs consisted of crack repairs, replacing some structural members, adding in new wedges where they needed replacement. Then the bridge was completely wet blasted to remove all the paint. The wet system is useful in that it keeps the dust down and it removes salts that have built up in the structure. We're now started the dry blasting, and following that we're going to put 6 coats of paint on the structure, and that will complete the works on site apart from the stoneworks at the entrance. Simultaneously, Harlan and Wolf are fabricating the steel deck panels and refurbishing the railings. And we expect all the deck panels and refurbished railings to come back to site late August, early September, and that should allow us to complete the structure completely refurbished middle of October.
This is our first time to be involved in a corrosion control project in the Republic of Ireland. We're very pleased to be involved in the refurbishment of the Halfpenny Bridge. It's a good place to start. What we're doing today, we're doing procedure trials and setting the standard for the shop blasting and spraying of the blast primers. Enterprise Ireland are here today to inspect our work to make sure the standard is okay. And once the procedure trial is done and everything's acceptable, then tomorrow we'll start blasting and priming, and hopefully everything will go smoothly after that and the job will be finished on time.
I think what was extraordinary about the bridge is the condition we found it in. When we looked at it prior to removing the paint, all the obvious areas had corroded and broken down, but in light of the fact that they were relying on simple oil-based paints with lead pigment, much of the bridge was in very good condition. So as we stand under the arches and do our investigation and make decisions as we go along, we do feel the weight of responsibility of the technology we now have behind us to provide the best possible protection to protect this bridge down the line. Well, the first concern that we met on the bridge was the concern associated with removing lead paint from the structure. There are regulations in place, as we now understand, the impact that lead has on the environment. When that's removed, we have to make sure that airborne lead contaminated dust doesn't escape to the air, that people passing by don't breathe it in, and that it doesn't go into the water, contaminating any marine life that may be here. What was done to prevent that or to control that was to put this enclosure we see behind me here in place to trap that dust. In addition to that, we advised that wet blasting be used to lower the levels of airborne dust, and they've succeeded in that. They've also used an abrasive, which you only use once or twice at most, so that when it's used it can be collected and disposed of as contaminated waste after the job has been completed and removed from site.
there's probably been around about 1,000 litres used on this structure between the coats of paint. There's a blast primer which is put on within 4 hours of blasting, which is basically a holding coat to stop the surface blooming again, or rusting. And then there's the anti-corrosive primer which goes on within maybe 72 hours of the blast primer. And then after that you've got 2 intermediate undercoats, and then you have the top coat, which is the coloured coat for the cosmetic finish of the bridge.
For a coating to actually do its job, which is to protect the cast iron in this case, it's got to be applied over a clean surface. The reason you need a clean surface is, for one of many reasons, is to maintain adhesion. What can interfere with adhesion is simple things like dust or old paint, material that the new paint wouldn't wet out very well. So it wouldn't maintain very high levels of adhesion with that contamination in place. And the second one is soluble species beneath the coating causing blistering and other corrosion reactions.
Setting the standard physically on site is useful for the operatives, for the nozzle operators, it's useful for our supervisors, and it's useful for the paint inspector and the main contractors personnel, because everybody knows then and everybody's seen the samples, and it means there's less likelihood of disagreement because of the complex nature of the structure later on.
So if we say 12 o'clock every day is the time...
Whatever time you want.
This is the initial stage where you develop a common understanding. You have to appreciate there's two very different agendas. There's a lot of different contractors involved in the job. Gabriel's agenda is to get paint on the bridge, get it done within a certain specific amount of time. It has to be a profitable job for himself. My agenda is purely to get the best possible standard from the surface preparation and the paint application. You can put the best paint system on the world, you get the best people taking any amount of time doing it. If they don't get the preparation to the appropriate standard early on, the job won't succeed. And I'll be back down this bridge inside of a year and do my reputation no good at all.
Rigorous testing was carried out by leading experts from Enterprise Ireland and Harland & Wolff on all metals and materials to make certain that the highest standards were achieved in the three crucial areas: safety, conservation and aesthetics.
I'm Lawrence Cobain, project manager from Harland & Wolff, responsible for the reinstallation here of the Halfpenny Bridge. We're currently down finalising the installation of the bridge. We're hoping to finish for the 5th of December. We recreated the bridge structure in Harland & Wolff, Belfast, and the guys came along and seen that. Since then we've had a number of modifications imposed upon us by the architect, which has obviously caused some problems here, adding additional welding into the job, which has added distortion to the job. We've now overcome those problems, and we feel we'll be able to reinstate it as its original position. I don't believe anybody, when they started the project, really realised what they were letting themselves in for here. But the conservationists now have come along. They have now a clear understanding what they want. We now have a better understanding of what they're wanting, and we feel we've now been able to achieve that.
My name is Richard Liu from the People's Republic of China. For the last 2 months, we work on the Halfpenny Bridge. So we do all the stoneworks for the bridge. The Halfpenny Bridge is one of the landmarks of Dublin City. So it's very, very famous.
Today is the 18th of December. 2 days work left to finish the bridge. Since last March we've been doing a total refurbishment of the bridge, involving cleaning all the cast iron, putting on a new deck that envelopes over the elliptical shape of the bridge, and a full restoration of the railings. It's a good sense of achievement to get a result that brings the Halfpenny back to its original glory.
We're just 2 days away from the official opening. I think it's been a great achievement to all those concerned on the job. I think it's a bridge the city's going to be proud of. Technically it was a very arduous scheme. There was many experts involved in it, and it's great to be here to see the end result of all those concerned.
We're standing here in Merchant's Arch. If you were here 9 months ago, You wouldn't believe what you're now seeing across the road from us. The bridge was in a terrible condition. It was dilapidated, held together with scaffolding poles, bits of wire. But it's a credit to everybody who's ever worked on this bridge that what we're seeing here is as good as it is. The kind of workmanship that's gone into that bridge is not easily found. And in the work we do, you rarely get an opportunity to work on a project which is an absolute gem like this. If you look at the crowds coming through here, I'm sure that on Friday we'll be back up at the 30,000 that was using that bridge. And if you want to put in perspective of what it means to the city, in 100 days, that's 3 million people.
Well, my name's Tom Blake. The name of my shop is En Route, which is appropriate because this is the route to the Halfpenny Bridge. I've been trading in the area for a number of years, and since I've been here, I've witnessed the whole Temple Bar scheme coming into operation. It's come to fruition now, and it's improved the place a lot. But the bridge is integral to Temple Bar. I realise that it's very difficult to deal with a bridge as old as that. But I think they've done it with a lot of TLC. It wasn't easy, I know that, but it's great that it's up and running now again for Dubliners.
It was looking a bit tired and a bit knackered, so it's like a new bridge. I recognise the shape, but everything else is different.
Well, I think it's a great idea leaving it white, because perhaps what you could do with the lights around the side is that you could shine different coloured lights, have lenses on the lights, so you could have a red bridge, a blue bridge.
I think it's a great job. I think we'll get used to it as the paint wears in a little bit, but it's nice to see it refurbished and redone and back to itself again.
Would you use the bridge often?
Oh, I would, yeah.
You cross it regularly?
Yeah, I miss the old bouncy bridge though.
It's nice.
You think it looks
Is it going to go right down to the street, or is it going to be steps?
No, it's step down, but they've slowered the steps. Slower the steps. It's much slower. It's much easier to walk down now.
Well, that'd be interesting for me.
Will it?
Yeah,
and we'll be back in town to try it out.
Well, we'll have to go on. We will.
Tomorrow it's my last day in Ireland, and I was wondering if I was seeing the new Halfpenny Bridge, and I saw it.
I used to come over that bridge to the dealers with my father, over there at the old Woolen Mills. You see the dealer Hector Gray there, selling the stuff there, and they're still doing it. That's their tradition. That's a tradition. That could tell some stories, I'd say. What do you think?
We've been here in the street for nearly 30 years now. We were delighted to see that Dublin Corporation were going to refurbish the Halfpenny Bridge. It would have been a huge loss to the area. In fact, it's our lifeline from the south side of the city. My family have been associated with this area going way back. My grandmother lived just around the corner. So I've known the Halfpenny Bridge most of my life. What more can I say? It's a symbol of Dublin. We're delighted to have it back.
The Halfpenny Bridge, that's right. It's big the Eiffel Tower.
Very good.
Looking ahead, that's it. And stop there for a second, just there for a second.
Yeah.
Go on, take a bite of the apple. Go on, yeah. Ah, that's right.
I want to pay tribute firstly to the city manager and all the engineering staff. I want to pay tribute to Intertrade Ireland. I want to pay tribute to Irish Enco. I think looking at the bridge, it's quite obvious that a first-rate job has been done.
Are we ready?
Yay! A great day for Dublin.
Well, Morris, I think about a year ago you opened the refurbished City Hall. Of course, today the reopening of the Halfpenny Bridge, I think, is another tribute to Dublin Corporation. I know it cost 1.8 million, but 30,000 people a day cross the bridge. It's very important that it was done well.
Yes, and I think you underlined the binding nature of the bridge between the south side and the north side, and you had myself, last year's Lord Mayor from the north side, and you, the south side Lord Mayor. So even in that it started in my term, and you had the honour of opening the refurbished thing today. And of course, to all Dubliners, it has meant a lot. I know as a kid, My father used to bring me down there to Hector Gray's market. Perhaps you were there yourself.
I
know you're
Hector
a little younger than me.
Yeah.
But Hector Gray used to stand on a Sunday there right on the Halfpenny Bridge. So it has many memories. I was reading too that when it opened in 1816, it had 3 names before it became the Halfpenny Bridge: the Wellington Bridge, the Triangle, and the Metal Bridge.
What was nice also is that there was some northern involvement. I mean, Irishenko were the engineers, but Harland and Wolff were there, and they were assisted by Intertrade, which is a north-south commercial organisation. So there's links all over the place.
Well, I think it's looking wonderful and rejuvenated and sparkling, but it's really a part of old Dublin. I mean, it takes me back to the early 19th century when it was built, and you were charged a halfpenny to get across it, and it was built by the ancestor of Colonel Walsh, who was the agent in Trinity. He was one of the principal partners. But of course, Dublin wouldn't be Dublin without the Halfpenny Bridge. I mean, it has a place in everybody's heart, and it's almost become a kind of symbol of Dublin. And of course, during the period when the hoarding was up, there were all kinds of wild rumours and suspicions. What is happening to Halfpenny Bridge? Oh, they're taking the lamps off, it won't be the same again at all. Oh, they're just drying us. What are they ashamed of? That they put a hoarding up so we can't see it? And now here it is again, revealed and wonderfully restored. So all our suspicions have been put to rest.
It's a popular quiz question to ask people which was the first toll bridge in Dublin. Was it the East Link or the West Link? In fact, by a long, long way, 1816, it was the Halfpenny Bridge, and for 103 years they tolled that cost of a halfpenny. It's certainly in the top 3 or 4 monuments of the last couple of 100 years of Dublin.
From the Lord Mayor's perspective, the reopening of the Halfpenny Bridge is extremely important because it's a symbol. It's a symbol of pedestrianisation. It's a symbol of people crossing the river, the Liffey, north and south, south and north. It unifies the city, and it's a historic link with the past. So it's the past, it's looking forward to the future, it's looking forward to a Dublin that's going to be largely pedestrianised in the city centre. There's 2 other exciting developments in terms of bridges across the Liffey. There's the new bridge at Mackin Street and the new bridge at Blackhall Place, both of them designed by the Barcelona architect Calatrava. And there are no intentions to reintroduce the halfpenny toll on the Halfpenny Bridge or the €0.5 toll. It's always going to be a free bridge.